takes a clever premise and turns it into softcore porn with a clunky ending.
The naked, exposed, inexperienced actress at the movie's center deserves better.
A film more deserving of the title Feces.
Don't expect anything innovating here.
If only Species were a little bit worse, it would have had a shot at becoming a camp classic.
Species offers a few cheap thrills for teenage boys who are too young to see it, but will get in anyway.
Sillier than it is frightening.
The best that can be said about Species is that the soundtrack composed by Christopher Young is okay.
Starts out great, but the initial intelligence and suspense gives way to every possible horror movie cliche imaginable. Welcome to this week's episode of Slept On Cinema. I'm your host, Stan Steamer.
And I'm Grove Street.
And this week we're getting into the 1995 horror alien classic, Species.
Big time classic.
Huge classic, and kind of a genre bender. I don't know exactly. You could probably fit this in. You could probably put in a whole bunch of different aisles at the movie store, including maybe the back room. But it can fit in a lot of places, which is kind of what makes it so great. As always, this and every movie that we review on this show are at or below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes for both critics and audiences. And we structure the podcast so that the first half is spoiler-free, talk about some things to look for in the film, take a break, go watch the film, come back, and talk about what we just saw.
Let's get right to the rotten premise. When government scientist Xavier Fitch intercepts a space transmission containing the genetic sequence for an alien life form, he uses it to produce Sil, a gorgeous alien humanoid hybrid. As Fitch's team grows concerned at her rapid rate of growth, Sil wrecks the laboratory and begins a violent quest for a suitable male human to impregnate her. The U.S. government dispatches top assassin Preston Lennox and a team of experts to stop her. Critics, 42%. Audience, lower at 31%.
Another crazy one that doesn't make any sense to me about critics and audience. I don't get it.
There's a lot of fan service done in this movie, so it is strange that the audience did not enjoy that.
Yeah. Another one that is just bizarre. I would have thought this one, like as usual, I get the critics on this one, but watching this again, I would have, if you'd asked me what I thought the reviews were, I would have thought that it would have been audience in the 70s or 80s.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually could have seen the critics being a little bit higher. There's some good. This isn't like one of those typical movies that we've done that might be like 20% on the critics' Rotten Tomato score. I feel like it's much better than that too. So it's a little strange for both the audience and the critics for this one.
Yeah, I think it could have been just that the cast was so good that maybe people just had such high expectations that it's a little unfair for this type of movie to go into it with that type of expectation. So maybe it was just a little bit of that. And I think maybe now that we're more removed from that, people will give it another shot.
Yeah, the cast is crazy impressive. You wouldn't think it's about this movie at the time got billed as, like you said, something that could be behind the curtain at the video store or in front in a number of different sections. Like it was this movie that would be like a Cinemax special of softcore mainstream movie to watch. But it doesn't seem like that. And it wasn't that going back and watching it. And with the cast that's assembled, that was not the intention. That's for sure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'll get into a little background in particular about the cast, because this cast is just bonkers. But movie comes out July 7th, 1995. Opened number 2, was second to week number 2 of Apollo 13. So, again, that movie crushed. You can't really beat Tom Hanks in his prime. So, more or less like it was number 1 again.
That's basically 1. Yep.
And it was MGM's biggest opening ever at the time. So wow. This movie really crushed. It took in $17.1 million its opening weekend, ended up globally taking in $113 million on a $35 million budget. So This thing, again, crushed. This movie did really well.
Because there's a number of sequels.
Yeah, exactly. And the cast was just crazy. This was Natasha Henstridge's first film. She had a modeling career before that. And then you start looking at some of the awards that the rest of the cast has won over the years, and it's insane the collection of actors they have here. Ben Kingsley won Best Actor for Gandhi. Forrest Whitaker won Best Actor for Last King of Scotland. Michelle Williams has 5 Academy Award nominations to her credit. I mean, I think it's crazy. And I feel like Michelle Williams, I mean, she's obviously only in the beginning of this film and she's pretty young at the time, but people like of our age kind of grew up with her. Like we've seen her throughout in her entire career. And I feel like she's probably one of the best actresses we have going right now. Like her career is just amazing.
Yeah, that's the first. My wife came through the room when I was watching this, and she's like, "Is that Michelle Williams?" And it was like, I didn't quite know her as much as she did. I think maybe because she was on like Dawson's Creek and some other stuff that I was aware of at the time. But yeah, just like another part of the cast that just sneaky. She's in for a little bit, and just an incredible actor.
And then you have Michael Madsen, who I feel like he is one of these Tarantino guys. It's in all the Tarantino films, which I feel like is even more impressive than having an Academy Award, just being like the seal of approval from Tarantino over and over and over again. Like that's a pretty big feather in your cap.
Oh, absolutely. If you're in multiple Tarantino films, that's way better than, winning a one-off Oscar.
Absolutely. And then just to tie a bow on it, this movie ended up taking home Best Kiss at the MTV Movie Awards. So.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Yep. I feel like now I have to go back and watch the presentation of that from the MTV. I was good with the Best Kiss. Should we get into bolos?
Let's do it.
Now, you said you have a good amount of this one. I struggled a little bit, but let's see how many we get out. My first bolo, one of my favorites, opening text. I know not one of yours, but it's short, so don't worry.
It is short, although it's also short by comparison to the length of the credits. This is another movie with a very, very long credit musical sequence to start the film. So it gives you some time to settle into your chair. I guess at first you got to read the text and then you have some time to settle in.
It's so funny. Like, I know this will be quick, but I just find it so funny. We've done a couple of these movies now where like the director is introduced multiple times during the beginning credits. And so is like the producer and some certain actors are just like, and here they are again, as if you didn't know from a minute ago when they were just on the screen and their name was on the screen.
Also, I guess bolo on this one, which I hadn't seen before, is the stars explicitly appearing in alphabetical order.
Very funny choice. I don't know if we get to that later or not, but it will come up again. Bolo, yeah. Bolo slow-mo.
It just has a nice ring to it. I'm going to say bolo, some ineffective hazmat suits.
Very. Bolo, you could say ineffective slippers, but they were very impressive. I'll say bolo, impressive running in slippers.
Nice. It's a great bolo. I'm going to go with Bolo, Your Luggage. Our, I think, second movie where with a bolo of your luggage.
Bolo, a credit card machine.
I don't know when the last time I saw one of those was, but it brought me back.
Yeah. Yep.
I will say bolo, slime. A lot of slime in this film.
Bolo, a portable TV.
Yep, had that one. I'd say bolo, 2 guys just hanging out.
Bolo, just eating a banana.
And a very strange eating of a banana. Bolo, a single tear.
This is how I know him, but Bolo Doc Ock from Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I will say Bolo Protocol.
Vague protocol. Bolo, a wedding dress.
Looks good. Bolo, gold teeth.
Well, I guess I have a lot more than I thought. Bolo, a tongue punch.
Had that. I'll say bolo, sex. Quite a bit of it.
Fine. Bolo, boobs.
And bolo, we had this before, or at least we talked about this before, but bolo healing.
Yeah, love bolo healing. I think this is true, which I don't know how many movies in a row this is, or if it's in a row, but bolo, one earring.
we're on such a run with the one earring. I don't know if it's an era thing or what, or it's just.
It has to be because we're in the 90s for a lot of these.
I think we are a one earring podcast now at this point.
It's up there now with my favorite thing to look for, which is just, someone getting hit in the balls. So someone getting hit in the balls or one earring is just the two big things to look for at this point.
I will go Bolo mangled people.
So mangled. Bolo shoulder pads.
Yep. Bolo a swing.
I think I'll go along the same lines. Bolo elaborate 90s clubs.
It looks like everyone's having a great time. It looks incredible. I will say Bolo a bolt.
Bolo, just beautiful homes.
Oh, yeah.
Great homes.
I'm going to say Bolo elevators. Just a lot of elevators in this movie.
Bolo Chekhov's commercial.
Yep. And I could go on forever, but I feel like I got to wrap this up. I'll go Bolo worms.
All right, I'll do my last one. Bolo, an explanation of LA.
It's a good one.
All right, I wonder if we're going to have the same one on this one. So our next category, our last category before we break to watch the movie is drink to pair with the movie.
I'm gonna say we don't.
We don't. Okay, good. Okay, let's hear yours first then. Actually, no, I'll get mine out of the way if we don't, because mine is very clear. Mine is simply, and I'm not going to give any explanation, and you'll know it at the end of the movie. Drink to pair with the movie, a Long Island iced tea. Now, I know it's a pain in the butt to make it home, so if you need to stop somewhere before, have that. Bring it, then come home, because it's a lot of ingredients. But if you have the ingredients, a Long Island iced tea would be perfect for this movie.
It's a great point. Have you ever been at someone's house or at a party and they were making Long Island iced tea?
No, that's like the biggest jerk move you can do, I think, is to ask for a Long Island iced tea at someone's house.
Yeah.
That was the first drink I ordered when I was at a bar, and I was not the right age to be in there. You're just like, Long Island iced tea? I heard about those.
It's my favorite go-to drink if I'm going up to the bar and someone's like, hey, will you get me a drink? And I'm like, what do you want? And they're like, oh, whatever. I'll always get them a Long Island iced tea.
Phenomenal. Just tell me what you want and you won't end up with that.
That's a great one. Obviously, it'll put you right in the film. Mine's a little bit more cerebral, I suppose. I'm going with the tequila martini. And it looks like it's normal. It looks kind of sexy. It looks like you're drinking this classy martini, but it is all kinds of messed up and nasty, and you should probably just avoid drinking it.
Have you had one?
One of our friends is really into tequila and orders tequila martinis, and I have tried it, and it is horrid. So maybe don't pair it with this film, but if you do, you'll understand what I'm getting at.
That sounds horrible. A martini is basically just that alcohol, so you just basically have sipping tequila.
With a splash or a hint of vermouth. Yeah.
Sure, of course, which I'm not even sure that goes well, but that sounds like a great pairing with this movie. If I was ever to try that, it would be definitely during this movie. So we're going to get pretty boozed up with either martini or Long Island iced tea, but that's perfect to watch this movie. And right now we'll take a break so you guys have a chance to go watch it, and we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, enjoy.
In January, a message from an extraterrestrial source was picked up at the Parkes Observatory in Australia. A new sequence of DNA, friendly instructions on how to combine it with ours.
This growth is amazing.
The decision was made to terminate the experiment.
He's breaking out!
She escaped. We have a serious emergency on our hands. I want a team to track her. Hunt her down.
You created a monster, now you want us to kill it.
We decided to make it female so that it would be more docile and controllable.
More docile and controllable, huh? I guess you guys don't get out much.
She wants to have a baby.
She'll kill anyone that gets in her way.
Oh, God.
Slept On Cinema is brought to you by Training Ties, the ultimate shoe tying tool. If you know anyone who's struggling with shoe tying, Training Ties is the perfect solution. Or if you know anyone who just doesn't like tying their shoes, Training Ties keeps shoes tied all day long. Say no to Velcro and yes to independence with Training Ties.
Welcome back.
Wow. That was awesome. So much better than I remembered it and having it been talked about when we were younger.
I agree. And I watched it a couple of times to get ready for this podcast. And I thought that every time I watched it, it was one of those films that got better and better and better.
Yeah. Same thing here. Like I think you said this when we were texting before, but it was like one of these movies where the second watch is even better than the first. It's just I guarantee, and I watched it a little bit fast on the third time, and that was even good. So like this movie does get increasingly better, and it's funny how that works.
Yeah. I couldn't even put my finger on what it was about it that made it work better on repeated viewings. It wasn't like I was noticing more. I don't think I just liked it better every time. I don't know what it was.
It is funny how this movie does get put into the back in the day, it was like a certain person was like, oh, they're watching Species. And you're like, oh, I know why you're watching that. But I don't know, times are different now where it's almost like, yeah, whatever. There's boobs and whatever. But that's not like the main reason people are watching this movie. It's a good movie.
Right. Probably that now there's so much more. It's so much easier to get any kind of illicit material. Like you're not going to be watching Species for that. You have any number of other options at your fingertips. So
you have back-to-back Showgirls and Species VHS night.
Yeah.
This movie was really, really good. And it is funny. Like I really enjoyed I thought it was hilarious in the beginning. And you mentioned it, the alphabetical listing of the credits.
Yeah.
And I have a theory as to why.
My thought is that when you have stars like that, when you have this sort of like ensemble movie with all these stars, I was thinking there's always sort of jostling over who gets top billing. So this just wipes that out.
It wipes it out, but it also makes it land on the one you want to have top billing. It's Ben Kingsley comes up first. Right. Yep. When you're like, when you watch this movie, this is not a Ben Kingsley movie. So it's Natasha Henstridge. It's her movie, but she's unknown, so she gets also like in introducing at the end, but it doesn't carry the poster in the box cover. Ben Kingsley carries that.
Right. I didn't really recall seeing that before. I'm sure I have, but I couldn't pinpoint a movie where that was also laid out like that.
I do like the strategy of the opening credits. It's good. All right, you got first pick.
I got a lot of things to choose from here, and I think I'm just going to go. I know we talked about the cast a lot, but I'm just going with the idea of putting a cast like this in a B movie. I just love that idea. Like this is a kind of pulpy, kind of lurid, a bit out there story. And someone said, hey, let's do this, but let's not do it on a low budget. Let's put some money into it. Let's get some real actors who can really fill up the screen, and let's go for it. And they did, and it's awesome.
Yeah, this is like what the playbook horror movies eventually took. It used to be just like screaming co-eds, and then they're like, let's put really good actors in this low-budget horror movie. And what do you know? The horror movie's incredibly good. Just like this is kind of a horror movie. We're going to put great actors in this sort of, like you said, like B movie. And it's not anymore. Once you have these people saying these lines, it's not a B movie anymore.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like, as folks, I'm sure of the as fans of the podcast probably are as well. I love B movies. Like these movies are so fun to watch. And when you have people in them that are also amazing stars, it's just a no brainer. Like they should just keep making this type of film.
I absolutely agree. I remember like horror movies, Conjuring or Sinister, where they just have really good actors in there and a very low budget. And just like this, it just like completely takes the movie to, it doesn't like, we both love B movies. I'll watch anything that's on the Sci-Fi Network or anything else, but this isn't that. And it easily could have been. Absolutely.
So that's my first pick. I love that idea. I think they should get back on that bandwagon.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I'm going to go with some obvious picks as long as the slow hanging fruit is still there. So I'm going to go Natasha Henstridge. I like to ask the question, like, what would this movie be without this person in it? And this movie is all geared around, I think, people just being in awe of her and being like, let's just put her in a movie and we'll build it around her. It's almost like what was that one you said for Lake Placid? They had like the spec of the gator, and they're like, yes, fine, let's build a movie around this. I have an idea how to build this. We have the gator. Now we have a movie. It's like, oh, we got the alien, super hot, can't even be real species, and now we'll just build a movie around that. And that's what this movie sort of felt like.
Yeah, I mean, she was absolutely perfect for this role. I mean, obviously, just visually, she's a stunning woman, and that's a core feature of the film. And on top of that, she just does a really good job playing this character. And I don't know if it was, I don't know, I feel like maybe she was helped by the fact that this was her first movie and she was sort of learning acting, and she's playing some creature that's learning to be a human. I feel like the fact that it was her first film played to her advantage in that respect, because you could kind of feel her coming alive as the film progressed in a way that makes a lot of sense with that character.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's like a first-time actor having to take a role to play someone who's a nervous actor. You're like, all right, well, they're doing it pretty well, because it seems like truth is coming through. But definitely her. I mean, once she was in this, she was in so many other things. They, of course, had the sequel, and she had a run of a number of other movies. It turned out to be a great actress. But this was off the heels of just a modeling career, I think. And they were just like, yeah, we got to put her in this movie. And she's more than just a pretty face.
Yeah, she crushed it.
Yep. And, my second pick, one of my picks, I think, became a category, so I won't do that. But, you know what? I'm going to go two people with this. So I'm going to go Michael Madsen. Is this just a guy? And maybe it's because of the Tarantino thing. And yeah, it might just be the one scene from Reservoir Dogs. I don't know. Or if it's his whole catalog. I don't know what it is. But when he came on the screen and just doing his Madsen things and he's just basically playing himself, you're just like, yeah, of course I'm going to like this movie. I have an alien who's super hot and Michael Madsen and whatever else. This is going to be incredible. And it was.
Yeah, whenever he's on screen, he's amazing. All his characters are awesome. He's got like a very signature style. It's almost like people write roles for him. I've never seen him in a bad role, like a role that didn't fit him well.
He's never like tap dancing for the crowd. He's always himself.
Yeah, and he's great. He's great in this film. That's a great pick. I think his sort of brooding, mysterious. It's like he's crazy, but in a very controlled way. Like he's just a cold-blooded, I guess.
They don't do a lot of like delving into each character's, like especially the scientist and him, the whole crew. Like they don't go into their past or anything, so you don't even really need to, because you're just like, here's Madsen. You're like, okay, I get it. I don't need to hear his past. I get it. It's probably some sort of like combination of the rest of his roles. He's a loner. Relationships don't work out. He kills people. Fine, I get it. You don't need to explain his background when you put him in that role. Yeah,
that's a great point. That just by casting Madsen, you already know what's going on with this character, and it saves you like 15 minutes of dialogue and script. For my second pick, I'm going to take the opening scene. And you know I love good opening scenes, and this has got to go in our top 5 openings. Man, I know we've done 2 De Palma movies, and both of those opening scenes that's probably number 1 and 2, but this is up there. I love
Lawnmower Man's up there too. Don't forget about the monkey heist.
Oh yes, Lawnmower Man. Oh, and Universal Soldier too. That was also fantastic. Okay. But there's probably about 10 of opening scenes in our top 5, if I had to guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
But this one, it's shot interestingly. You see this young innocent girl in this mysterious glass cage. You don't know what's going on. All of a sudden, the scientists roll in these canisters labeled cyanide, and you're just like, oh my God, they're going to murder this poor innocent girl. What's going on? The lack of dialogue, the strangeness of the whole thing, it really just pulls you right into the film. And then everything goes off the rails.
Yep.
And it's a perfect opening for this movie. They could not have done anything better in that opening.
There's almost no dialogue in that opening, and I don't need any. You get the whole point from that original scene. There's like a mouth, I'm sorry, and yeah, like you said, I feel like cyanide was the mainframe of poisons.
Oh yes, for sure.
Because one poison in the 90s, it is cyanide. Everyone knows what cyanide does to you.
Yeah, Yeah, it's perfect. It's almost like Madsen. Like you don't need to explain anything. You just put that little cyanide there. Boom, I get it.
That's a good one.
My third pick, maybe this is a sleeper, but I think these are just too cool to be a sleeper. I'm not going to put it in that category. I'm going Cocoons. I think Cocoons like kind of blow my mind. Like you have this thing, like a caterpillar crawls into a cocoon and then comes out a butterfly. Or here, this child crawls into a cocoon, comes out a fully grown human alien. There's nothing cooler than the concept of a cocoon. So love that. And you also get a fancier name if you want to be fancy about it and call it a chrysalis. So
yeah, that was great for the audience. You didn't have much time. You didn't feel stupid for too long. It's like chrysalis. You're like, oh, what's that? Okay, cocoon. All right, I got it.
There's just like cocoons still blow my mind. They blew my mind as a child. They blow my mind now. They're so cool. I'm kind of shocked there aren't more movies with cocoons. I mean, there's obviously the movie Cocoon, which is fantastic.
Fantastic.
They should be more of a staple. Like I'm going to go as far as to say cocoon movies should be a genre of films. That should be a thing.
I think what's so cool about it is you have no idea what's going on in there, and you have no idea what's going to come out, especially if it's like an alien cocoon. No clue. You could be like the train lady and be like, I'm going to poke my head and see what's going on, take a close look. Bad idea. Or you could just wait to see what comes out. That could be a bad idea too.
Right.
No,
it's because, since age like 4, we all know about caterpillars turning into butterflies, which is just batshit crazy. And that's real. So once you have that seed is laid, you can literally do anything with a cocoon in a movie.
Yeah, I remember being afraid, like, are we changing? Like, why do caterpillars change? Are we getting in a cocoon later when we learn this when we're like 4 or 5? Is something changing?
Right.
It would be a lot cooler to go from like, essentially like the movie Big, right? You're like 12 and you're like, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to go to a cocoon for a night and then wake up 27.
Yep. So just more cocoons for me. Just load them up.
But this is our first cocoon, I think, in Slept On history.
It is, and it's kind of shocking.
Hopefully, we'll fix that going forward. I think we'll look for some more cocoon movies. Is that your last pick?
Yep.
My pick here. I'm gonna go with. I loved the scene in the laboratory when they were creating the other creature without the human DNA, without the mask. So they were in that room and the camera went out. You couldn't even see that like implantation happen. And by the time the camera came on, it was already so far past. And you got to see the awful Kingsley for some reason almost keep them in there with the protocol of the 2 minutes that might have been good to tell them about before they went in there. Yeah. I think Madsen would have been a little bit more careful with the screw. But that whole scene from the countdown and the screaming back and forth and those 2 clear red and green buttons, it's like very clear to the audience which button is going to be hit. And then there's multiple fire attacks to kill this thing. You have no idea what's going to happen. I thought that whole scene, it was very, obviously a lot of this, people would say it's derivative of Alien, but who cares? It's very Alien-esque in that scene, obviously.
Yeah. It's like, I feel like it's Alien-esque in that you have this like crazy dread, condensed time frame, small area, condensed unknown creature, people trying to escape. It's Alien-esque because it's all the great parts of Alien. Like, right. Why wouldn't you want that?
And this is like, I love when people say like things like, it's like Alien, it's Alien-esque, it's derivative of Alien. It's the same as saying like it's like Die Hard. You're like, awesome. I loved Alien. They made a bunch of aliens that are derivative of the original. I don't care. Give me more Alien type things.
Absolutely. I had the same thought. That scene was great. And you got we killed it. Oh, nope, we didn't. It's way bigger.
We had a cocoon and now it's way, way bigger.
What do you have for a sleeper?
I guess, I don't know if this is a deep cut or not, but I'm going to go with H.R. Geiger. Is that how I pronounce his name?
I'll go with it.
Sure.
Sure.
He's the one who designed the species in this. He's the main species, as well as that like ghost train that was chasing her.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
also behind all of the, of course, aliens. So he's the main special effects guy of the Alien, who designed the Derelict and the Space Jockey. If you like, he has his own museum in Switzerland based on all of his like special effects and cool things he's been a part of in movies as well as music. He designed the cool mic stand from, if you know the band Korn from back in the day. He's just like, his designs and his artistry and sculptures and his movie stuff. It's just, if you just want to go down a rabbit hole of cool stuff, look up H.R. Giger.
Yeah, I will co-sign that. I went down that rabbit hole as well. And it's just like all his stuff, all his drawings, the things he's created, they have a very distinctive look. The sort of, it's very alien-like. It's like clearly, even his things that are made of metal or whatever it is, they're very alive, and it's just cool. And like, I don't know if you saw that he had sort of been involved in a handful of different bars to varying degrees. Like, I definitely would go check out the Giger bar. Like, that sounds so cool.
I also liked how he had some problems with this movie because he felt that they was ripping off Aliens. Like, he had a huge problem with that tongue punch to the back of the head that she did. He's like, that's the tongue from Aliens. He wanted hooks instead of that like abrasive punch.
Yep. Sure.
Which, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I don't care. We don't care, but it's fun that he cared that much.
Yep. That's a great pick. My sleeper pick, I'm going with the guy who got tongue punched. His snapping to start the lights and music in his house. That is just cool.
The double snap?
Yeah. I mean, that's, if you're that guy and you're just trying to bring girls home from a club and you want to impress them, that is very impressive. Like that.
It's very impressive. It's also funny, like every guy she picked up just had like an amazing house in the hills.
Oh yeah.
Just some guy sitting at the bar by himself at that weirdo club. Yep. I guess his house is $2 billion mansion in the hills.
Yeah. But the snap thing, this was definitely in the era of the snaps.
So I gotta, hey, come here. Hi.
This was also the era of the clapper. I feel like was really big when this and when I was a kid, I remember thinking like that is the coolest thing ever, and it just fits perfectly. Like, of course this guy has that, and of course it's awesome.
It is awesome. Like, I get why that's impressive.
Yeah.
If I was like, I don't know about this guy, and then he did that, all right, fine.
I also have an anti-draft pick.
Ooh, let's hear this.
Whoever thought it was a good idea to send out the sequence of human DNA out into space, what good could possibly come of that? There is no way that anything good.
That was voted a little bit over sending out all of humans' fears out of space. Just all of our fears and weaknesses. Just let's show them our DNA code. Makes perfect sense.
There's absolutely nothing good that could, like, what you think someone's just going to come up and like send you back the cure for cancer because they're feeling good? What would we as humans do? We would look for every weakness and go and exploit the entire planet. Yeah. Like, why do we think that some other alien race is going to be benevolent?
How you said that is exactly how I agree. Like, what would we do if some place, we got a message saying, oh, this place has weaker beings than us? We're going to probably go over there. Or if they're stronger, we're going to build up some things to figure out how to go over there and kill them. Like, don't send that stuff out.
Yeah. That's the most boneheaded thing I can imagine. It's
just putting your lock code for your house on the outside of your house so everyone can see it.
Yeah, it's insane. So, bunch of dummies.
Yeah, that's a great one. And our superlative for this week is favorite thing that she does to show that she's not human. So this was going to be one of my draft picks. I love it in movies. I think of like Terminator 2, right? When he's like, why do you cry? Like, they do like little things to show that they are not human, and they have to be so obvious with it. Like, I'm going to put my pants on my head because I don't understand how this works. And she does a number of those type of things throughout this movie to show that she's not one of us. He's not human.
Mm-hmm.
And which one is our favorite? So I'll let you go first.
There were so many to go with, but I just loved, and it's kind of a bit squeamish or squeam inducing. I'm not sure if that's even a word. Squeam.
I think squeam inducing is now our thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Squeam inducing.
But I'm going with when she cuts off her thumb with the fuming shears.
Yep.
It's one of those things. It's almost hard to watch because especially because it's one of those tools that everyone has used. So
Yep.
you know what that would feel like as the hand doing the squeezing. And it's just easy to imagine. So that's just so visceral. And then when you see the tentacle-y things come out and it grows right back as this perfect thumb, it's just awesome.
Same graphics from Virtuosity.
Yes.
Have we all put like our thumb up to like scissors and just see what it feels like for a second?
Just for a second.
Just for a second. Just like, ooh, I don't want to do that. And then you just feel it. Yeah, and then she does. What I didn't see coming was her doing that to the woman right afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
It made sense later on as to why she did, but that's a great one. Yeah, just like, yeah, no one would ever cut off their thumb. That's but I will. Mine is my wife saw that scene, didn't bother her, but this scene did. It was when she ate the banana like so when she turns that banana sideways and eats it like corn and be like, I don't get how food on earth works. It had that awful crunch and then kept it in her mouth for when that train lady came in and she had to have that like no conversing conversation. And she's holding it in her mouth and then went back to the bite. I think that's my win.
Yeah, that's a great one. It's a great little wrinkle. Like you could just I almost imagine the moment when whoever thought that up, that was making the movie, thought it up, and everyone's just like, yes.
Yes.
It's a brilliant idea. It's so easy. It costs nothing to throw in the film, but conveys so much with it. It was, and again, also very relatable. Everyone's had a banana. No one's ever eaten it like that.
That's hilarious how you said it, because when she took that bite, my wife wasn't really watching the movie. So she's like, what is she, an alien? I'm like, yes, that's the point of that move. That you could do that thing to be like, to show I am not of this earth. I'm not human. I'm not aware of anything that you guys do. I'm an oddball. Yes, I'm an alien. It's like that little thing showed that she was an alien.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
I thought honorable mentions, her continuous lack of grasp of math and money was pretty good. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, buying that $29.99 wedding dress was just something she felt like she had to do.
Yep.
But if you're looking for a baby, I guess that makes perfect sense.
Yeah. 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 I mean, there was also some more of the like physical things, the crazy kiss we talked about, her sort of sensing the guy's diabetes, like sensing things about people. That's obviously not human. That's a cool element or feature that they gave her too. I like that.
It's a great superpower.
All right, we got our newest category, the what would you throw on a bumper sticker category.
I want you to go first on this one.
So this one I struggled with a little bit. There wasn't a lot of that sort of powerhouse dialogue that really drove me to think of something for this, but I did really like that one Forrest Whitaker scene, which I think gets a lot of flack on the internet, where he just walks into the train car where things have obviously gone down and just says, something bad happened here. I just think that would be a great bumper sticker.
Yeah, that's right up there with his ability to say, she walked.
Yeah.
She walked that way. That's a great one. Great choice. I'm not picking this one, but I could have docile and controllable. I thought that would be a good put on the back if you aren't. Just like a woman who's not one of those two things. And also, if you want to convey what you're looking for, I think it would be a great red flag for everyone out there. Or if you think it's funny to have on your bumper sticker, don't go, I want a baby. For every man that you date, you pull up with that, don't go, I want a baby.
Yeah, I mean, you'd really be putting all your cards on the table right there.
Hey, you want a baby? All right, I'm in. Let's
do this.
All right. Once again, this was a blockbuster, but one change to be a blockbuster. I'll go first on this one. Probably the most impressive actor, I think, in this is Ben Kingsley.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he had the worst role. Like, I have no idea if the cliche thing. What is his motivation? Like, I don't really understand him in this movie. I know he's like a Dr. Frankenstein, I guess, but his lines were awful. He was always so like short with everyone, which I loved, actually. He was definitely very short with Dan and his like observations. He's like, oh, I get it. You don't even know which way to go. I'm done with you. But he was just kind of like, he never helped. They never really explained much about him. I didn't really know what he was doing, why he was doing what he was doing, all the protocols, where he was in this like hierarchy of scientists for the US government. Like, none of it I understood. And then he had also just kind of like a anticlimactic death. So I just feel like I don't think his dialogue was the best. So maybe, I don't want to get rid of Ben Kingsley from the movie. I just want to give him maybe some better lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that it was tough because it was sort of bouncing back and forth with him being this sort of genius, but then kept making really boneheaded choices. So it's like, did this guy just sort of fail upwards because he's in charge, but he also seems to not really know what's going on a lot of the time.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything helpful at all when they're looking for her. He just one time knew like, there were trains coming by. Let's check this train schedule. Yeah. That's about all he did.
Mm-hmm. But also still, I feel like I didn't find it unbelievable. Like I sort of, he did seem smart and dumb. And I feel like that happens a lot.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's a Ben Kingsley role. I just wanted more. I wanted a little bit more.
Yep. Mine's kind of similar with a different, also Academy Award winning actor. The empath part of this. I had the hardest time buying into that. And I think if you're looking to make this as a blockbuster, I think his character was the one. We some of the quotes or some of the reviews were talking about, almost being campy. I think his character was the one that pushes the movie farthest into that campiness territory that some people are just uncomfortable with. And I also sort of think that for most mainstream movie watchers, you can kind of have an alien movie or you can have like supernatural things, but a lot of people can't really handle both in one film. And I think that's what his character adds to this, is that a bit of that sort of supernatural Stephen King-ish element to it. And I think that was just that combination made it hard for some people to get behind. Yeah, I think maybe you work him into the movies. I don't want to, just like you don't want to lose Kingsley, I don't want to lose Forrest Whitaker, but maybe let's put him in another role somewhere else in the film.
Yeah, he doesn't have to be an empath. And it's so funny, like now it's such like a thing on TikTok where everyone is like, I'm an empath too. And it's like, no, but he's saying he has like an extra ability that he's not just like feels a little bit more. He's different. And right. He can tell when people are coming to the door and who they're there for and stuff like that. But I did feel like it got watered down as the movie went along. It started with the impressive someone's at your door that isn't even knocking yet. And then it went to like, I joked before, like she walked that way or something awful happened here. He just became like Captain Obvious. And even when he was outside of the house and he was the last one out there and she was the Species character, she's like looking through something at him. He still went in the house. He didn't even sense her presence. It's like, What do you actually do here?
Yeah.
She didn't like being alone. Okay, nice.
All right, spin-offs.
Spin-offs. You want to go first?
There were quite a number of spin-offs.
I haven't seen
any of them.
Me neither. All right. First or second?
I'll go. I feel like mine's not totally developed. And there were... I thought I could have gone a number of directions with this. I think there were so many characters that we didn't get a whole lot of the background that you could go prequels in all sorts of directions. But I want to go the prequel from the aliens' perspective. I want to know what's going on with them. I want to know how they reacted to getting our DNA, how they decided to come up with this brilliant plan of sending us something really helpful to trick us. And then also sending this instructions that will almost assuredly wipe out the human race. And it also made me think that I couldn't really think of a movie where it was just an alien movie and there were no humans. So I want this movie to be just aliens, no humans. It's going to be a foreign language film because there's no English. So it's all going to be subtitles with aliens speaking, which some people might have a hard time with, but that's just what we're going to have to do. But I don't think I've never seen that before, and I want it to be a thing.
Wow, I just started right when you said that, my mind started racing. Like, what is that alien movie where it's just aliens and there's nothing, and like you said, it would have to be a foreign language film.
Yes,
it's going to be beeps and zerps, and then which is great because I always have subtitles on, so who cares? Yeah. That would be an amazing. I feel like it would be expensive or goofy. Like if you wanted to keep the B-roll, it's a bunch of costumes, but otherwise,
you could go in any direction to make this happen.
That's pretty cool with it. And then they're all in the control room being like, let's send them the virus. And then someone's like, no, wait. Let's send them the good help first. Let's send them this little thing that we found out about like 3 millenniums ago. Send them that. Then we'll send that afterwards so that they are tricked. Like,
and they're just like high-fiving tentacles all over the place after that.
That was so smart. Yeah. That's incredible. Mine is more on this earth. Unfortunately, my spin-off idea is at the end. From what I read, I didn't see any of the sequels. They never had at the end the rat ate her like tongue tissue or whatever tongue tissue thing that came out, and then absorbed the ability, became mutated, whatever. But in the sequels, they never expanded off of that with the rats, whatever. So this does, and that rat has become a huge factor in the intention. It got to a species, or maybe it wasn't humans finally, but it was the rats that infected all the other rodents in the city and then grew and grew and grew. So there's a whole species of hybrid rat, human, and whatever the other thing is that now is trying to take over the earth. But our last hope as society is, if you remember, when Kingsley was keeping those two in that lab.
Oh, yeah.
He was afraid to let them out, which seems silly because it was contained. Or was it? Because it got out and some of its little spores got out there. So when they ended up eventually having sex, they created their own hybrid baby, which then goes on to have the powers. It's almost like Blade. It is a human, but it has all the powers of the other side. And that baby of theirs, which grows up in, go cut to the next one. By the time 2 weeks later, it's already 20 years old. One of those same two actors in it. Their baby eventually has to fight the hybrid rat species and all of that, and they go head to head. But I like the idea of they were in that room together and he was so afraid, but why? And then they had sex, which was a big thing, and she got impregnated, and now we're off on another timeline.
I'm in. I mean, you had me at the rat human alien hybrid. I want to see an army of rat human alien hybrids like in LA doing all this crazy shit. That sounds awesome. I want to see it on screen.
Yeah, the rats take over LA.
That's great.
Any other notes that we didn't get to?
I was curious why they decided to name the random guy who helped her after the hit and run John F. Kerry. John F. Kerry was a sitting senator at the time. Like, that couldn't have been a coincidence.
He might have had some odd political agendas nobody cared about.
Yeah, it felt a little strange. I also, no one really remarks on it, but they were very, very close to just wiping out the entire human race.
Yeah.
And no one knew. I mean, they were obviously trying to keep it under wraps, but you kind of wonder, how often does that happen that we just don't know about?
Well, I hope they aren't sending all of our weaknesses into space all the time so that everyone can just look at that and send whatever creatures they want to go kill us.
Someone's probably done it. They're firing rockets into space now, like every 5 minutes. It's like no big deal anymore. So I'm sure someone's done it.
Oh, those jerks. Do you know this director Roger Donaldson also directed another movie of ours?
I saw that. Yeah, this is our second Donaldson film.
Second Donaldson film, the first being Dante's Peak.
Yeah, which was immediately after this film.
Right after. Yep. Yeah. Which I think he knows what we're looking for if we got back-to-backs on here.
Yep.
And that's pretty much. I just have my last note is, why is Ben Kingsley so short with everyone? That's about it. But we already went over that.
Yep.
All right. What do we got next?
So next we are dipping our toes into Reindeer Games, which should be a appropriate film for when this next episode comes out, right around the holidays. I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember thinking, it's a film that I think even at the time I knew didn't get great reviews, but that I always thought was awesome. So looking forward to digging back into it.
I somehow have not seen it. I did rent it a lot when I worked at the video store, and I know it very well from the movie Role Models, where everyone who's white is Ben Affleck, who's in Reindeer Games. So I cannot wait to see this. If you're listening to this and you want more Christmas content, we have tons of other Christmas horror movies that we did last year. So if you just go back through episodes, you'll see plenty of other Christmas-themed movies for this time of year.
Awesome.
All right, that was awesome. Later.
Yeah, later.